All right. Good morning, guys. Let's see how you guys trickle in here as we get going. So, welcome to the third edition of these monthly momentum calls. It is July 31st, 2025, which does sadly mean that summer is two-thirds behind us as of today. I know if you blinked, it felt like it was the 4th of July just a few days ago. So, it's been a very, very fast summer for us. We know that. As for you guys as well. I hope not, but we know it does usually go by pretty darn quickly here. Um, so keeping with the theme of these calls, I want to make sure that we are starting off with just first of all doing some shout outs to the group. And I have two. Trying to not to try to find a way to do all of you guys. I love you guys. You're doing fantastic. You all deserve a shout out for the hard work you're doing. And I kind of want to highlight just two particular things and see what thoughts. So they'll get some questions that you guys have, and then one or two notes I want to make as well. So first shout out here is to Sarah for getting back into it. Um, I know that, yeah, I mean, and I know some of you guys personally, but I know that, yeah, you had a lot going on for a few weeks or over a month. And so really proud of you for getting back into it, putting some time and getting workout in the last week. That's fantastic. Looking forward to seeing a lot more of those logged and lean into the community of people. They are really helpful, encouraging to each other, and I'm loving the way you guys are caring for each other here. Um, and the second shout would be to John for getting a one-side workout in this week. Definitely not ideal when your elbow is in pain or you're facing an injury that takes one side of your body or one limb out of the equation for a little bit. But really proud of you for choosing to do the workout anyways. That is absolutely fantastic. So keep it up. Way to go. Hopefully, I hope things feel better much sooner. You can figure out what is going on as well. Uh, so with that being said, we got a couple questions and then like one or two things I want to touch on as well on this call here. Um, and so the first one being, I mean, Mark asked a while ago, so he messaged me privately too, saying like why press, squat, deadlift. Those are the names of the workouts, perhaps. I didn't quite clarify, so I'm going to make some assumptions here. If I'm wrong, I apologize. So why are those the names of the workouts? Why are those the very frequent movements? Lots of presses, lots of squats of some sort, lots of deadlifts. Um, and they're not named in there, but I mean, pulling movements are repeated too. There's a long answer. There's also a short answer. And I'll probably give the short answer first, followed by some context, which completes into the longer answer. The short answer is that upper body pressing, whether that's overhead pressing, push pressing, bench pressing, push-ups, etc., plus squatting. So getting the hips below the knees in some way, whether that's a squat, a lunge, split squat, step up, those all fit in that camp. Deadlifts, which is covers hinge-based movements, hinging of the hips, where you're bending at your hips, using the hips as the main power source of the movement. So that'd be your deadlifts, remaining deadlifts, single leg deadlifts, kettlebell swings, cleans fit into there if you ever get to those as well. I'm gonna add in, sorry, little coffee. So here we go. Let's see if we can help that right now. Um, it's 5:30 in the morning. I've already been up for a little bit too. So, first thing on, not a bad deal. Um, and then I'm also going to why I like the pulling movements. So pull-ups, rows, um, ring rows, banded pull-ups, even sometimes the curls if we've gotten most fit in this case, question as well. And so those are the movements. I spent like 2 minutes explaining what they were. Why are those on repeat? Why are they used the workouts? Let's say taking some liberties here. So I didn't get a perfectly clarified question. Just kind of hopefully to touch on a lot of the reason why. The main reason is why. is, I mean, the reason why is those are the main movements that kind of exist in strength training and or the big movements that move the most muscles at once. And some measure of those, some type of those are like the essential components of a strength training program. Um, in order to strengthen all the muscles of your body, you must do squats, hinges, presses, and pulls. Um, so those are the main four camps of movements. Then those huge umbrellas for each one of them, as far as how many different varieties there are, the equipment you can use for them, etc. Ways to kind of treat them differently. So why are those? Why did I kind of I sit down three like a squat, press, and a deadlift? Over time, the communities I've been a part of, the coaching I've done has led me down the path of thinking, then realizing those three are really the main, the even bigger three, because the press one fits both overhead pressing and like horizontal pressing with the chest. So really, there's two directions you should be pressing. Um, I try to put a type of each one of those four, five, including so you have your squat, deadlift, overhead press, uh, well, your vertical pressing, horizontal pressing, chest pressing, bench press, chest push-ups, and then pulling. uh, rows, pull-ups, those, etc. Those five, I try to put those five into most workouts. Now there's the guidebook. So there now you know how to, now you know what goes into it as far as how to think about it. And that's on a bare minimum kind of side of things. Not that what you're doing is bare minimum. It's a lot still. Um, but bare minimum, you need to train those five movements, maybe plus some ab, maybe plus some conditioning, maybe plus um, carries. I really like carries, and you're gonna see those kind of often in there. I just feel like they are not just me. I do like them too. They are one of the most practical skills exercise you can work on because you will always be carrying things in life, and it works your grip, posture, core, um, even like your hips can be working. It works so many things head to toe while you're just walking. Um, if the head load gets heavy enough, you feel it for sure. So those are fantastically applicable to life. You fit that in there. Not essential, really still important. Maybe put that in the top six. Um, maybe some people's top five. So those are the components. Those are the main components to a well balanced strength program. Whether you're training 6 days a week or you're training two or three, those things need to be in there. If you're training more per week, you're probably going to do rather than right now. You guys are doing three workouts, and most of those workouts have some of those movements in them. If you're going to train 4, 5, 6 days a week, you maybe just don't do all of them every single day. So you either go and have a day or two dedicated to a couple of those movements, and that's it. And then you don't touch that again for the other 4 or 5 days of the week, or you split up in variety wise. Like, okay, you get to do a little less work per workout because you're training more frequently, if that makes sense. Like, you're not going to do five. If you're training 5 days, you're not squatting all five of those days. You're squat three of those five, and you can kind of mix and match where the squats now go. That gets into like some of the programming nuance of it, like how a good exercise program is constructed, but the bare bones of it are presses, squats, deadlifts, pulls, and you could say carries as well. Um, and with free weights, you're also always working your core. So you're wondering, hey, where are abs? Where's core moves? Where's cardio? Um, Good question. I have that scheduled on the other days for you guys to pick and choose what fits your type and preference of cardio as well. Whether it's an evening walk with your family, or it's a bike ride you go on, or it is a swim, a row. If you have a rowing machine, that'd be great. Um, it can be yard work. There's some yard work that if you turn your fitness tracker on, if you have one, we've all done a task and gone, wow, that was a workout the entire day. I did that task. So if you're shoveling rock or carrying bags of something else or working, digging something the whole day, lifting something repetitively for a task, it's a workout. Watch your heart rate get up there and stay up there, and you basically are doing at highest exertion, pretty high exertion cardio, and at the lower more like zone two, and that's kind of crazy what you can do in your life body weight with um, that we wouldn't think of as cardio. So I leave that open to interpretation because I don't want to say, here's the thing you should be doing, assuming all of you will do it and want to do it. There are those of you who love running and those of you who do not. And well, I think everyone should run. I cannot make everybody run. Um, so hopefully that answers the question a little bit. It's a whole, you could have a whole series on once you've chosen those movements, like why, like how do you arrange them, et cetera. There's a whole plethora of things and stuff, like how I accept program. But I just kind of want to use that question to spring more into another question, another comment of mine. So Mark, you dropped the question in the group about rest periods. I mean, it wasn't a fully formed question, but it was a why, why 2 minutes, why 3 minutes, what happens if I start a little early? And so I want to make sure I have that question right. So I'm going to pop it up. Um, but yeah, impact starts a little early. So why 2 minutes, why 3 minutes? I tend to give 2 minutes. So okay, this is a once again quick not scientific answer, or a quick like loosely or like what's the need to know? The rest periods are in any workout so that the energy systems feeding the muscle contraction. So muscle contraction is like squeezing. Use a bicep example. You can see my bicep. This to tense it takes um, energy to do that in your body. That's now it's actually being converted from carbs into something else to fuel that contraction, but um, it is coming from the energy we are consuming, and it's being converted into something else the muscles can use. The when the you do a prolonged set of something, whatever it is, whether it's long duration, or it's a even just anything, or classic 8, 10, 12 reps or something. If you're pretty fatigued by the end of that 8, 10, 12 reps, you're aware of the fact that you could probably only do like 1 to 3 more sometimes, unless you rest and come back and you can do it again. And you can usually pick it up in 60 to 120 seconds in 1 to 2 minutes, and you can probably do another similar amount of reps again. That wouldn't go on forever because eventually you'd fail. Try doing that for an hour, right? That wouldn't happen. So the weight was extremely light, and we're not trying to move extremely light weights here. We're trying to move the heaviest way we can, safely, effectively, well in that time, um, and that's how we get progressively stronger. And a lot of you guys know that, and you're doing that really well, and you're seeing those numbers go up because of that. Um, so why the rest periods for that energy system fueling the muscles contraction to actually recharge. And why the longer ones, 2 to 3 minutes. This is the thing I'm in the process of learning more about. And well, I guess I'm always in the process of learning about a lot of things. But the thing I'm learning here is that, so let's just use a heavy day as an example. The heavier days, then let's just, I know everyone here right now is working on just dumbbells, and that should say that's your main mode of exercise. Depending on how strong you are with those dumbbells, they can still be really heavy. Um, so you will need, let's just say you're trying to like that push press example of the last week, trying to do 5 sets of a five reps heavy push press overhead. Um, and if you have a weight that is hard to do for all 5 of those, and by the time you get to 5, you probably couldn't really do more than maybe one more safely, confidently. Well, you set it down. You will need on the minimum side about 2 minutes to recover to like for the muscle to recharge. On the highest end, 4. Women are built a little different than men. They can probably get going after like 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and they'll be just fine. They won't receive the exact same benefit as men do. Men will probably tend to wait. If you were absolutely like at your 5 reps max, there was no more reps you could do on that set. You could probably wait 3 to 4 minutes. Sometimes I will add an extra one on there and go 5 personally. And if I just mentally need another minute to to prepare, I'm actually physically ready at 4 minutes or whatever. But I don't feel ready in my mind to don't lift something really heavy and try it again. Um, so why that rest period? Is it for the recovery to happen? It's for the energy to recharge that empowers the next sequence of contractions, sequence of movement that muscle is going to demand. Um, so that's why. What happens if you go a little earlier? Um, and that's an it depends answer. You might find that if you kind of cut that a little short and you're able to do the same thing again from the first set, it does not mean you weren't pushing hard enough as long as it's hard. Like, because if you dial down that rest time and you start the same set again at the same weight, you will know was that enough rest to do the same load again or not. And you try doing that for a second set, third set, fourth set of the same thing, and you keep saying, let's just say you keep doing 90 seconds, and it gets really hard by set three, set four, then it was like you drop like maybe you could have done more weight, but you had a rest of like 3 minutes instead of 90 seconds. On non-heavy days, we don't need to be resting 3 minutes between sets. If you are, that's totally fine. That's your choice of time, how you want to use it. Um, I'm assuming we don't have the time to do that every single day. So I don't want you to do that every single day. Um, it's not detrimental. It's actually fine with you. But just so you know, you actually on a non-heavy day, not a like max effort loading of 6 reps or less or something, or 8 reps or less or something, um, you have probably sufficiently recharged that muscle, ready to move again in about 90 seconds or so. Um, 60 to six, 1 to 2 minutes, maybe split the difference, go 90 seconds. Your muscles are close to that. Maybe your heart rate's still up. Maybe you're supersetting that and your heart rate's really jacked up and you want to like bring it down a little bit before you start. That's totally fine. You know your own body and your own intensity levels and what it feels like to safely push yourself and what it feels like to unsafely push yourself. Or you're learning that. That's part of the ongoing journey here too. And so don't start until you're ready. Not just say, oh, the time goes. That might be time to go, and you might need that incentive because you want to wait longer, but you can actually do it. You might also be like, hey, I'm reconditioning myself here. I'm new to this again. I need to take a little longer rest, let that heart rate come down a little more before I start. Over time, you'll be able to start the next set with a higher heart rate and higher heart rate still. Not that that's the goal. I'm just using that as another um, measuring stick of um, like how intense your exercise is. We all know that, especially when we're doing things that are leg dominant or in supersets or circuits like these conditioning days. So um, there isn't a drawback of there's a very slight drawback of starting sooner. On the heavies, I would try as a guy, I try to keep it to a minimum of like 2.5 minutes. Women, same thing, 2.5 minutes at the longest. Um, Men, you might want to go a little longer than that on the heavy days. On the other days where hey, we're resting 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that's kind of the upper end of where I say you should rest between those sets. Trust me, if you're pushing hard enough on some of those, not a that you're not pushing hard enough. I'm not implying that, but if you pick the right weight for a set of this, let's just say dumbbell squats or lunges, you're gonna want almost the full 2 minutes of rest. Sometimes, maybe 90 seconds. Like women will be able to cut it a little short of 90 seconds, and that's because their bodies recharge a little faster um, than men do. So it's tougher. There's all around tougher than we are. We are definitely the weaker, weaker of the weaker sex here for sure. We get there's a reason it's called man flu, right? We get a sniffle when we are out for a week. When we get a sniffle, they don't even realize they even have it, and they just keep going on with life and doing everything. When they're working full time, or they're helping take care of the kids, the household. They're crushing it. Doesn't matter. Um, so I hope that helps. That there's not if there's like a day you're like I think I can pick the same weight again and go 90 seconds today instead of 2 minutes. Go for it. That's fine. On the heaviest or at 3 minutes, I'm kind of splitting the difference of 2 to 4. And saying like you can go as far as 4 if you want to. If you don't have time to, do 3. Um, like you're still getting all the benefits of that heavy day still. If you're like, oh, I only have time to go at 90 seconds, that's probably not the same thing as a dedicated heavy day at that point. It's a little different. You might want a little more time than that. or real life. That's what you had. That's the best you could do. That is still way better than not going to the gym, not getting the workout in. So that's helpful there. I'm going to talk a little about warming up. That's something I want to talk about and what you guys are doing. By having access to the Northern Strength Collective, you should have access to a second add-on program. If you go to your program tab at the bottom of the app, so the bottom like bar across the bottom of your screen when you sign in, you have your dashboard. I think it's like the little rocket ship. You have your calendar tab, and then which looks like calendar, and then you have a um, program tab. I think it looks like a kettlebell. I can't remember. If you click on that, just click on all the bottom things. You'll see one that gets you to a program. And there'll be a ton of listed workouts there that have like the picture of the first movement and the name of the workout, etc. If you go there and you click on, I think there's should be you scroll to the bottom or you click add on programs, you can open up a bar there. If I could check it right now on one of your plans and see what it looks like, just so I know and make sure it's right. Um, Let me pull that up here. Um, if you click that, you should have access to, yeah, so it's a kettlebell. And if you scroll down all the way, yeah, you do scroll down. So there's some distance to go through. There's a lot of workouts in the current program. And then there's also there's a sequence of these workouts called 5, 10, 15, 30. Those are something I'll mention those in a second too. But then you go down below that, there's warm-ups and cool downs. There's some very specific ones, but there's also uh, why can't I see more? Interesting. Well, there's more than just the three that I see there, but I'm on one of your profiles and I cannot scroll. You'd be scrolling laterally, like side to side. Um, there should be a sequence of specific warm-ups in there for maybe some movements, some areas you feel tight or um, you know, a little extra attention. There's also warm-ups in there for just general, how would you warm up your body before you lift? That's one side. So it's stretching before you lift. So I don't know how many guys are doing that. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. It's important to prepare the body. Think of stretching. Think of all this as training. I would say training, not so not because I'm a personal trainer. Think of this as training. What you're training for differs, but not just as you're athletes of life. Life requires that you train now because life is technologically advanced, and we need to train our muscles to be prepared for things they're going to face. Or if we're not training them, they will be breaking down, degrading, or we'll be losing strength over time instead. We don't have a high stimulus in our day-to-day life that's going to make us stronger. So we're training. We're just training for life. We're training to be good, stronger parents, friends, husbands, wives, um, future grandparents, community members, church members, you name it, coworkers. So um, before you begin training session of any sort, um, if you kept time to warm up, it'd be ideal. Not just grabbing. So I don't mean warming up like stretching, dynamic stretching. If I can link the video on that, I'll make a note to try to do that here. Um, it should be in there too. It is in the app. I'm not sure why I can't access it. And maybe one of you guys could try this out and tell me if on your end you can access that because I can't. But um, I have a warm up in there. I think it's like 12 minutes long, but you know me, that's seven of that's talking, and the other five is the actual movement. So it's 5 minutes. It's very general. There are things each of us specifically to target in our warm-ups and our cool downs and our stretching that are maybe not in there. That's for you to know or you to ask questions on and get some feedback on as to what you should be adding to that. That's just general, like, hey, let's loosen up the hips a little, let's loosen up the shoulders a little, let's get the back moving and get it bending and moving around so it's used to now lifting something or prepared now to lift something. That's the warming up before you lift a weight. There's also a warming up in your sets sometimes. So eventually you guys will get to weights and maybe many of you are already there. We're like, yeah, you could grab the 35s or the 50s for this movement because that's what you know you're going to do. It's wise because that weight is pretty high now. That's pretty big. You should pick up a lighter weight and do a set first to warm up the body for that particular movement after you've done another warm up beyond before that. So yes, you're like, oh wow, Kurt's adding more work. I am. I'm adding more work in the sense in the I'll put in the category of movement preparation. We're just trying to prepare the body for what it's about to do. Tell the nervous system, hey, you're going to lift something heavy here. Should you be able to go do that in real life and like lift a thing really heavy with no warming up? Yes, because life will not give you time to, okay, well that's I have to go lift that heavy object off of this thing right now. The classic example is to pick up a car off of a kid, which is a very sad and terrible situation to be thinking about. Sorry, somehow that's a classic example. Um, you would not take time to take 5 minutes and stretch first. You'd immediately jump down and do that. EMTs do not have time to warm up their muscles and do a little jog and some stretching first. They get immediately into life-saving activities and measures of that. So the body should be able to just immediately jump into these things if it needed to, because you're training in the side. You're not training in the gym. You're not walking down there in a life-saving scenario where you have to like not warm up. You get the time of it and you should do that. So try to create 5 minutes of warming up first. And as you're like starting to lift those weights, if you're getting north of 25s, 30s, 35s, 40s, 50s, especially in some of these movements, if you're using dumbbells, if you're using barbells, the weights are a little different. Um, I would pick up at least one lighter set first and do like a few reps. Use a bent over row as an example. If you can row the 40s at the same time or row 40 in one arm, maybe you should grab like the 25 first and do a set of 25 or 30 and do a set of like eight really quick on each arm. Just good control, good movement pattern. Make it look really just focus on your attention form, using your back first, etc. Pulling with the back first, then the arm after that. How's my core? How am I controlling my body? Head, shoulders to hips. Good. Feels really good. Feels locked in. Set the weight down. Rest another 30 to 60 seconds. And then grab the 40 for the first like official set you're going to log in your training app. And yes, as you get stronger, more of these movements do require a walk weight first, or at least a stretch before you begin. But like you're gonna grab the 50s for a deadlift. Yes, you should be able to do that in theory and just do it. If you've lifted nothing at the day, all of a sudden you jump to the heaviest, one of the heaviest weights you probably have, I would recommend grabbing like maybe grab the 35s first if you're able to lift the 50s and do a set of 10 with those, or do 30s, then 40s, then 50s, like just kind of add more in. It does go pretty fast still. It's not a huge, I wouldn't rush it, but it also doesn't take a huge amount of time to do that. And it's really wise to tell the body what's about to happen because you can get injured by picking up a weight suddenly and doing the movement that you normally can do with that weight, but you just didn't tell the body ahead of time it's going to happen. It's not being prepared for it. So think of it as like a feedback system in your body. You're telling the body what it's about to do by giving it a lighter stimulus first and then moving to a heavier one, or the one you're going to like lift for most of the sets that day. So that covers a bit of warming up generally in the work before we work out, and then a bit of warm up sets within the workout themselves, which are not programmed. Sorry, these are the ones my clients make fun of me for and say, "Wow, wait, you're telling me to do? We're not tracking that?" I'm like, no, we're not tracking this. We're track the first what's called working set, the first like heavy set or challenging set for that movement. Doesn't mean heavy day, just whatever working weight you're going to use for that day. It's just a normal workout, nothing crazy heavy, but nothing light either. Um, Something kind of in the middle, moderate to high. You should warm up before you lift that. Conditioning days kind of can vary. Some of those loadings could be a little bit lighter depending what the instructions of the workout say. But yeah, that's a broad overview of warm up sets as well as general body, total body warming up. Um, I'm going to stop there. We're at 6 o'clock. Um, I'll overall, you guys are doing fantastic in here. Um, really happy to see all of you guys, kind of navigate your own personal challenges the last month or travel and just get right back to it after that. That's real life. That's how it works sometimes. Sickness, travel, Um, Injuries, they are all part of life, and there's a way to still kind of make fitness happen in the course of that. And there's a lot of wisdom to saying this is 1 to 2 weeks. I just cannot do anything, and I can get back to it. Like with that target of saying I'm getting back to it on this date, and here's my system to help me do that. So proud of you guys for using that, doing that, and keeping up with it. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of workouts, a lot in the next month or so here. Take care, guys. Keep it up.